Jaxson Dart could win the quarterback competition in the next scrimmage. You won't hear it from Lane Kiffin. You won't hear it from the media. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't happen. And it doesn't mean it's not the best situation for the football team. We'll explain why. This is the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. You can see it right there. You can follow me at @TheStephenWillis on Twitter. We're on TikTok at Locked On Ole Miss. Give us a follow there as well. We do videos other than this on that platform as well. Also, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and that includes YouTube. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell for notifications of new videos being released, and, of course, upvote the video itself. We would appreciate it. Anyway, this is kind of a weird in the middle of thing because I was thinking, and all of the experience and things that I have, I was thinking, what is the best case scenario for Ole Miss? Not for Jaxson Dart, not for Luke Altmyer, not for even Lane Kiffin. What is the best result for this football team? And how do we get there? And my opinion is Jaxson Dart needs to come out in scrimmage number 2 with his hair on fire and light it up again. That is the way I view this. Because there's several issues on this football team. There's a lot of stuff. The quarterback competition gets all the headlines, and it should. But until that quarterback competition is decided, there's a lot of questions and issues that cannot be fixed. So for Ole Miss to get as high as we want Ole Miss to get, it needs this quarterback situation to be resolved as quickly as possible. Now, Lane Kiffin needs to make sure he makes the right decision, and he needs to trust his conviction. He knows more about quarterback play than all of us probably combined, but from the outside looking in, this is my judgment. Completely opinion-based, but, I used to have an office in that Manning Center before it was the Manning Center. I spent 10 years in the national media working for Yahoo. I worked in local media at WSMV in Nashville. I've been around news gathering for most of my adult life. And I've seen these storylines develop. If Jaxson Dart wins the job, hammers it through, he proves he can handle it, all the questions are answered after the second scrimmage. Like I said, it will not be answered by Lane Kiffin. It will not be answered by subscription services. Why? Because Lane Kiffin needs Troy not to know, and subscription services need this competition to be a competition to sell subscriptions. This has been a very lucrative thing. I've had nearly 100 subscribers in the last week. This quarterback competition is a big, big deal amongst the fan base and nationally. I think that's another part that people don't even realize. The national interest in this quarterback race. And Jaxson Dart coming through with scrimmage number 1, which, let's just be honest, if he'd had a mess scrimmage and Luke Altmyer would have put up those same numbers, it would have been difficult. It would have been hard. Because the chance of this being muddied all the way into the start of the season was definitely there. That's the reason scrimmage 1 was viewed as so important by so many people. There was a lot of things that could have happened poorly with a meh scrimmage from Luke Altmyer and Jaxson Dart. Going into scrimmage 2, can you imagine the pressure that would have been on scrimmage 2 then? And if it would have been another mess scrimmage, you're like, oh, now you're done, because scrimmage number 3 is a mock game, and I've explained what a mock game is. It's football with everything but the plays. It's all about organization. It's all about the operation of the team. It's not really a true scrimmage. There's pretty much only 2 true scrimmages. Maybe they might add a scrimmage that you don't find out about, but it would have been a difficult situation, and the chance of it just going completely wrong would have been completely there. Now, like I told you, and I've told you all week, Jaxson Dart has not won this job yet. Anybody that claims that he won the job, they're just kind of wishful thinking at this point. Anybody that claims that Luke Altmyer is even in the competition after one scrimmage when everybody saw things also has another agenda. Like I said, this quarterback competition sells subscriptions. It is extremely lucrative. There are people that you hear from that is going to break news and the head coach, and they have these motives to do the same thing for different reasons. It does not behoove Lane Kiffin to tell you who the starting quarterback is on August 16th, on August 17th. You should probably find that out at the earliest on September 2nd. If not, when the first quarterback takes the first snap in the Troy game. We're fine with that. And you're not going to hear it differently from the subscription services, because their motivation is, let's keep this going as long as possible because this money train is going. Like I said, I'm not charging anything. This is all free content. I've made over 100 subscribers in a week, to the point where I'm looking at maybe hitting 1,750 before football season and maybe hitting 2,500 by the end of football season. Those are my new goals. By next year, maybe 5,000 or beyond. This thing is growing unbelievably fast. But we're going to talk in the second segment of why naming Jaxson Dart would be in Ole Miss's best interest. Not publicly, not in the media, but in your head, knowing what's going on. Putting Jaxson Dart at number one and just kind of going. Now, another thing that nobody is talking about right now, because it doesn't fit their narrative and they need the quarterback competition to go. The quarterback competition needs to go on because Ole Miss hasn't started school yet. Several places have not started school yet. Which means if Luke Altmyer would be named the number 2 today, he could transfer almost immediately. He could go down to, heck, Southern Miss or any other places and play immediately. It would have be a similar situation as far as a rival as Jeremiah Masoli, but he could do that. So it's another motivating factor to extend this competition as long as possible. Now, in this episode, you're like, Steve, why are you telling me all the reasons that people could extend this competition? It's because, for what I'm telling you, is reasons to extend this competition beyond what actually is happening on the field. It's all about outside motives and all about ulterior motives. All of this is important to know about this competition. This has been a real competition. Don't let anybody tell you any differently. This has been a real competition. The one promise that we had when we all expected from Jaxson Dart when he got here, though, kind of showed out in scrimmage number 1. Now, what will happen in scrimmage number 2, I do not know. Nobody knows what's going on. But if Jaxson Dart has another scrimmage like he had in scrimmage 1, this thing's over. All she wrote. There's not another opportunity like these 2 scrimmages to do it again. The season will be here. Now, I expect maybe Luke Altmyer might play. They might do some political things to try and keep Luke Altmyer on campus, because that is important. Although the Kincaid Dent has done a decent job as a backup, and I think he would be a decent backup. But that transfer possibility is something that people need to keep an eye on. And that is why, another reason why this quarterback competition race is going to go at least past classes starting at Ole Miss. Potentially past the drop-ad date, if we're going to be real. So, it should be fun. Now, whenever we come back, I'm going to tell you why this quarterback case needs to be over. It needs to be done, at least internally. It doesn't matter what the media is saying. It doesn't matter what Lane's saying outwardly. But it needs to be done internally. And I will explain exactly why that needs to be. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks, and a few becomes too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds that you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, total your car, you could kill someone. Everyone knows the risk of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe. Plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including iTunes and Spotify. Do not forget and rate and review us there. Give us a 5-star review. You can say whatever you want to say. Just make sure it's a 5-star review if you don't mind. That'll help others find the show as well and make it searchable as we're going through this massive growth phase right now. Now, in the first segment, we talked about basically how Jaxson Dart could win the job after scrimmage 2 and potentially should. Now we're going to tell you why. This team is a team full of newcomers, which means it's basically playing 8-way tug of war. You know, there's people pulling the rope in all directions, people coming from all different situations, and people bringing their experiences to Ole Miss. There's not really anybody that is dominating with the line the Ole Miss way. This is how we do things like that. So when you have a Jalen Robinson, I don't know if there's any issue with these guys. I'm just using them as an example. When you have a Jalen Robinson, when you have a Zach Evans, when you have a Ulysses Bentley, when you have a Malik Heath, all of those guys are skill position guys that last year was either getting the ball from a different quarterback or catching passes from a different quarterback. So the timing is going to be different between Luke Altmyer and Jaxson Dart and whoever is out there at quarterback. We are reaching the point to where they need to be on the same page with someone. And they can't adjust fully. Like you might catch us from passes from Jaxson Dart and Luke Altmyer and all that until one is named. You need to know who that QB1 is. You need to know that. You need to rally around it. That will help the leadership chasm on this team as well, because the weight that is carried by somebody with the title QB1 is a benefit. But none of this can happen while the quarterback competition is underway. Just can't, because of the weight that QB1 position has. Chemistry with receivers, running backs, tight ends. Although Jaxson Dart probably has chemistry with Michael Trigg just because they've worked out the longest. But there are others that need to get on the train. And it cannot be handled until the quarterback competition is done. So for Ole Miss to reach the heights that Ole Miss needs to reach, or we want Ole Miss to reach, let's say another 10-2, things like that, just a hyper-successful season, this quarterback competition needs to be over. Because the chemistry stuff, that you do have a little bit of break in the first part of the season to get them right, any earlier bit helps. It's at the point where after scrimmage number 2, if they don't name, if you named a guy and if you didn't name a guy, it would probably mean a game's difference on the schedule. Instead of 9-3, you're looking at 8-4. Instead of 8-4, you're looking at 7-5. It's probably worth the game's difference at that point. And I understand that Ole Miss is not supposed to, let's say, compete until next year. I understand that everything on this team is built towards next year. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater this year. This can be a hyper-talented, really good team. It just can. Bunch of good-looking guys. Bunch of hyper-talented guys. Let's make decisions to put them in the best position to win. That's what I want us to do. Now, like I said, Lane Kiffin will not let a single one of us know who won this job. Not until potentially Troy, whenever the quarterback goes out for the first snap against the Trojans. The media is not going to even speculate a winner in this competition because they need it to sell subscriptions. The longer this goes on, the better for them. But understand this, okay? I'm not indebted to anybody. Not the SID, not the coaches, not anybody. Completely independent news source. It's a free website. So I can say basically what's on my mind. Any takes that I might have, I can say to you. Now, it's not me reporting. We don't report. That's not what we do. We are sports talk radio. We are completely independent and fun. We are what is something that is interesting to the Ole Miss fan base. That is what we are. What Ole Miss fans are talking about, that's what we try to talk about. That's the reason over the last 6 months, I bet you we've done 150 shows about the quarterback competition. I bet you that is absolutely the case. With only taking short breaks for the College World Series and, a little bit else maybe. But the quarterback competition has completely dominated the issue that we've been talking about for weeks. And it's really cool. It's a whole lot of fun. And we're going to talk about the quarterback competition some more in segment 3. If technology doesn't get it, I haven't recorded the interview yet. But Bill Flowers, we're planning on him coming here and being on today's show in segment number 3. But, technology can always jump up and get you. But, guys, this is fun. We should have fun. And in doing so, this will be better for most everybody. But my take that I did today is that Jaxson Dart can win the starting quarterbacking job, in my opinion, in scrimmage number 2. My second take is that Ole Miss would be better off if he did. Anyway, Bill Flowers right after this. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. So do us a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel, which so many of you guys really are right now. Hit the bell for notifications, and of course, upvote the video yourself. I'm here with Bill Flowers. He's going to tell us a little bit about some camp stories, maybe some stuff that he can interject on about this quarterback competition. How you doing, Bill?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this show, by the way, since you probably don't know what it is, the thesis of it is that Ole Miss would be better off if Jaxson Dart won the quarterback job after the next scrimmage. And the reason I bring that up is because of all the extra stuff they need to get done that can't really get done until a quarterback is picked.
Well, yeah, that would be the sooner that you can name a starter, the better that is. We kind of alluded to it last week. You would like to see there be a clear, clear favorite, head above shoulders, than better than everybody else. My understanding is that Dent, through 3 touchdowns and looked great for the third team, against the third team. I've also heard that he really hasn't been given a chance to shine. And, as crazy as all of this sounds, you've got 3 guys that can play. Unfortunately, the politics are going to play into it, and Dart is going to have the clear front opportunity to win the job. So, to my point, if they cannot name him next week a clear favorite, that's not a good sign, because Ole Miss is a transfer portal place, and everything's going to run through trying to make this a transfer portal destination. Look what Jaxson Dart done. Look what look what our transfer guys have done. And for the Ole Miss fans that are hoping that Dart is the next Manning, Corral, if he cannot just snatch us away, that's not a great confidence sign in what people are hoping, because I just tell you, politics do play into things, and he needs, for the Ole Miss fans to feel confident, he needs to snatch this away from everybody and just run away with it, and that's what you hope would happen.
Yeah, whenever you were in school, there might be 3 or 4, or sometimes even 5 scrimmages leading up to fall camp, and it seems like there's only really going to be 2, because the third scrimmage will be a mock game, which is everything but the plays, as you probably will remember. But what do you think the scrimmage is being cut down? How did that affect things?
I think that affects a lot. I think I was listening to someone talk about the fact that you don't have the ability to instill the physical nature that you want in a team during camp. And I definitely can see the truth in that, but where the value comes in that is the ability to have a mature team that can be locked in, focused, and be efficient and effective in knowing what they need to do and take advantage of those opportunities. When with that being said, you're getting to play a whole bunch. You have a whole bunch of snaps, and you're mentally focused. You're mentally, going through everything. Even though you're not full speed pads and taking them to the ground, you're still able to create a mentality, and you're still able to thud and do those things at a high speed and to create a mentality that says this is going to be our mindset. With that being said, having a lack of live fire scrimmage, that really does help. I mean, it puts your quarterbacks in much more of a real life situation where you're really able to understand what is their what's their process going to look like in a game, more so in a practice. And so having 3 quarterbacks that you're trying to figure out which one just absolutely runs away with it, and not having those live scrimmages definitely hurts everybody, because you want to have as many as you can. But it also focuses and forces your team to be as mature as you hope they can be in order to maximize every rep. And I think you're going to see, probably your first 2 games are going to be a lot more rustier than they probably were before. And everybody says the difference between your biggest improvement is your first game to your second game, and that's only going to be even that much more exaggerated because of the lack of live fire scrimmages that you're going to be able to have.
Yeah, and also talk about this because you've seen it both ways. You saw Eli as an entrenched starter, and then in 2004, you saw a quarterback situation that was less than ideal.
Yeah.
What's the difference in the chemistry leading up and working with guys that you might not be familiar with versus working with somebody that's the dude?
I would say, well, first and foremost, you want to be able to have a clear starter. That's what you want. And we never really had that. So you never had – everybody thought it was going to be Michael Spurlock. Everybody thought that's who it was going to be. And every person on the team knew that, Spurlock had all the athleticism in the world, but you just really weren't sure what was going to happen when live fire occurred. That's where you want as many scrimmages as you can get. And so when we had 3 quarterbacks, you never really had, this is your leader. Because you just didn't know what, who the general was going to be when the season started and as the season went on. So it's kind of hard to find that camaraderie. Right now, everybody, when you're in that situation, you just make the most of every opportunity you get. You make the most of every opportunity you have with that quarterback. There's no, everybody right now is Altmyer and Dart. They're the starting quarterback. That's what the chemistry is like. It's just each guy is a starting quarterback. So that's really where your chemistry goes. Again, there's no, this is the guy, this is the guy that I really got to have, timing with, and this is the guy that's getting all the reps at number one. You don't have that. So it does make it more difficult to find that general of the field, the guy that you rally behind, that leader in the locker room, the leader in the huddle. All those little things do matter. And you tell me, I don't know how many teams have won a national championship off a dual quarterback team. I don't know if any.
Yeah, probably Florida when Tebow was a running quarterback, but that's a different story when Chris Leak was the guy. That wasn't a situation where you had 2 quarterbacks. You just had a fullback essentially.
That was a package. That was a package deal. That was not a quarterback. This is your 2 quarterback system that who knows. We had 3 quarterbacks, and that did not work well. Each one of them was special, had their own strengths. But when we were talking about the receivers, like Chris Collins and I, we both left at number 1 and number 2 receivers with catches. There were times where Chris and I would just get frustrated because we were having to alternate. We were having to be taken out of the game. It was hard to catch a groove. It was hard to it was unfair. Like, you don't see that. Like, usually your starters are your starters, and they get most of the snaps. So when you have a situation where your quarterback is not full-time quarterback, and you've seen Lane say that, he is not going to pull a quarterback. He is not going to make a two quarterback system unless he absolutely has to. And again, I think that's indicative of, you hope that Dart can just pull away from this so that there's not, that issue in the back of everybody's mind. Is this the guy? Is this the guy that's really going to be our starter?
I've got a theory that I've never actually proven. I'll ask a question about it. QB1 is the most important leadership position on the field. But in 2001, when you had that 3-headed monster, was it kind of like an 8-person tug-of-war, 8 different directions people were being pulled because there wasn't a consistent message?
Yeah, it's never good when you don't have this is my starting quarterback. I mean, it was silly because we all knew you didn't have to be the brightest guy in the world to know what was going to happen. First play, we're probably going to run the ball with Spurlock. They were going to. You didn't know if you're going to what you're going to do on second down, but you did know on 3rd and 8 that Flat was going to have to throw the ball. That was a given. So when you have stuff like that, people just throw their hands in the air. They're just like, okay, whatever. When you have that guy that is your starting quarterback, that you are going to, that, hey, this is the guy that we're going to win and we're going to lose with. It just makes things more cohesive. And I think you could probably ask anybody that's played on a team when you have, two quarterbacks that going for it. There's always going to be a little bit of, hey, I want this guy or I want this guy. And that makes it a little bit more difficult in the locker room. And again, whenever there's politics being played in it, I don't care what anybody says. If you're a transfer coming in and you're a highly recruited transfer, you're going to get just that opportunity, and it's yours to lose in a sense, because they want the perception to be, this is the place where we want transfers to come. It's going to be really hard for us to recruit the top, 5 stars out of high school because we can't financially pay them. What we can do is lure them through the transfer portal. So I think that you want to see the best players play. You want to see the guy that you feel there's no politics behind this. He's the best player. He's the best guy for this team. And again, that's why you hope that Dart can just pull away, or Altmyer pull away, or Dent. I've heard from multiple people that Dent really hasn't been given opportunity because he just wasn't. He wasn't the high profile guy that Altmyer was, and obviously not the guy that that Dart is. And so you want to see one guy just walk away with it. And when you don't have that, it makes things a little bit more uneasy of who's going to be our leader.
Yeah. Also, before I let you go, this really has nothing to do with this camp, but I was not really concerned about the result of it. What was it like playing football in Laramie, Wyoming?
So I didn't get to play that game. I had a deep bruised kidney. I was out that game. I was actually I think I had just gotten out of the hospital. I was in the hospital for like a week with a severely bruised. They thought it was a lacerated kidney.
Okay.
And so I didn't get to go out there.
Oh, okay. Did anybody say anything about that game after the fact?
No, I think that everybody said you're lucky you didn't go on that trip, because I heard they got stuck on the tarmac for hours in Denver or something like that. I was like, yeah, that would have been pretty brutal. But I think they were pretty disappointed. I think they lost the game.
Yeah.
I think it was my recollection was that when you go out that far and you're supposed to beat somebody and you don't, it's pretty brutal. People really don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. I was just more concerned about the thin air, because that would have been the one time that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't. With Michael Spurlock, I think it was known that he had altitude issues. So I'm not sure if that affected him, but there's definitely players that have issues with sickle cell anemia that it definitely can affect them. I know Ryan Clark, who played with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he had to sit out some games because of that. it definitely can be an issue with high altitude.
Yeah. Anyway, Bill Flowers joining us today. I want to let you know to get more in the SEC by making Locked On SEC your second listen every day. Chris Gordy and local experts of Locked On take you across the SEC in 30 minutes. Make Locked On SEC your second listen every day. Locked On SEC. Thank you so much, Bill. Hey, next time we talk will probably be for the post-game show for Troy, but thank you for stopping by, bud.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. Thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye.